All right, everybody. Sitting here with a good friend of mine here, Aaron Richards with Barden Home Builders. Thanks for joining us, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks for having me out, Chris. Good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you, you've got your hand in a lot of different things, but home building's been kind of the main channel.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, almost 20 years now, which is a crazy thing to consider.
And I guess I should say general contracting, right?
Right,
Home building, renovation. So 20 years?
We've done it all. Yeah, 2006. I started when I was 21, and I'll be 40 next month.
Nice.
So,
I mean, that's going to be a good trip.
yeah, Lauren's kind of giving me free reign to do whatever I want. So, you know me, I'll end up in Idaho and Montana, maybe even South Dakota this time. But
Gotcha.
yeah.
And not to get too far off the beaten path of our new construction intro there, but yeah, you also are a big outdoorsman.
Yep. Yeah, big time.
More hunting or fishing these days?
All of it. Honestly, it's so hard to get tags nowadays, big game tags in Arizona and really everywhere in the West. I've really started focusing on fishing. So I've got probably 10 times as much fish in my freezer as I do red meat right now.
Gotcha.
It's just how it happens.
Is there good fishing in Arizona?
Lake Powell, which is mostly Utah.
Yeah, gotcha.
But we'll catch a few fish in Arizona.
Up in Lake Powell?
Big mouth bass, largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, striper walleye, catfish.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
have you ever tried spearfishing?
I have not.
Oh, okay.
I can't. I don't. I got a healthy respect for large bodies of water. The ocean. I like being on the ocean. I don't like being in the ocean.
Yeah. Well, I think some people will spearfish like Powell.
Yep. Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
We've got a little fishing boat now, and my kids are really getting into it.
Yeah.
So every time we go up there, Walker especially, he just turned 6.
Okay.
And he is just a fanatic for fishing and hunting. I mean,
I love it.
The kid, I went to Alaska in July, and he would plead with me to take him.
Yeah.
Everywhere I drove him around town for about a month leading up to the trip, like, please take me with you to Alaska. And I'm like, I wish I could, but it's dangerous there.
Yeah.
Especially for a 6-year-old. So.
Yeah. Gonna have to plan those out. Yeah, I keep telling is he your youngest?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Lane's 10. She's got her first elk tag starting on Friday.
Oh, gotcha.
So
we know where you'll be.
Yep.
No, my youngest is he'll turn 4 next month, and he doesn't quite get it. But I've talked to him about like, dude, once all these other kids are out of here, and it's like you and me,
we're gonna do
everything.
You
have no idea how awesome you have it.
Start a list and just keep adding to it.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Like your siblings will hate you, but it'll be okay. So Walker, you got it coming. But no. So I mean, construction right now. I have so many questions, and kind of like to think of like if I was listening to the podcast right now, what are the questions I'd be asking? And I know we had this. Like everything, with inflation, pandemic, and these big price pops, we saw build costs. Because you and I were talking about some big renovation ideas, and I think it was like, hey, $250 a square foot or something, and like, which I know is probably not a good way to be going about quoting things out. But it is, there's lots of various quality, what you're putting into a house going by square foot is not always the best, is what I'm saying there. But we saw with supply chain. A lot of cost increase, justifiably so. What are we seeing with like building costs and timeframes? And is it just, give us kind of a big overview on the building industry right now.
So for me personally, we're starting to see costs kind of rebound a little bit.
Okay.
Just a few weeks ago, we were trying to broad brush a potential addition remodel project with some numbers based on similar projects.
Yeah. And
we had to go back, I think, about a year for the remodeling part, but we were able to use numbers to calculate the addition footage of a project we finished earlier this year.
Okay.
And I was really surprised to see that it was actually below $300 a square foot.
Okay.
Which, really builder's level finish on this particular project.
Sure.
But still, I was encouraged to see that. Because I can't tell you how many conversations I've had in the last 3 years with folks that I can just hear the wind just blow right out of their sails on the other end of the line when they say, hey, we want to build a house. We have a lot. What's it going to cost to build? And everything's been north of $1 million for quite a while for your average house being over 2,000 square feet, nice finishes, multiple bathrooms, nice kitchen. So I'm encouraged to see that timeline on ordering materials and cabinets, countertops, finishes. There really is no more restrictions. Cabinets tend to increase in timeline over the summertime. Yeah. So we make a big push to order cabinetry specifically in the springtime for summer projects. Like the day we sign a contract, we want to order your cabinets because they can take 4 to 5 months to show up.
Okay. 4 to 5 months for cabinets?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the height of the summer demand for cabinetry, we get into 20 and 25 week lead times for cabinetry coming out of Salt Lake City.
No way.
Yeah. So
now that's new, right?
Well, that is pretty much that happened in COVID, and it got even farther than that.
Yeah.
But every summer cabinets fluctuate in that long lead time. So
I'm trying to think
if we haven't, or if you have us do a kitchen for you in the summer, we really need to sign a contract and get it all said and done before Memorial Day. Otherwise, we're starting to push you into fall just because of the cabinet timeline. So what we do is we sign a contract, we order your cabinets, when we get the delivery date, then we build a schedule around that date.
We need to open up like a cabinet shop, Aaron.
Well, I might plug my good friend Kai Daler in here. You know, they used to work with me. He started a cabinet business.
Okay.
Yep, Cabinets by Kaiser Cabinet Company, and he's actually finishing up putting together a showroom in the same office complex that I'm in over on Greenlaw.
Very cool.
And he's got a really good option, great price point, and a 2-week turnaround on cabinets. They're site assembled, but you can get all the options: full extend, soft close doors and drawer fronts. Yeah. You know, solid wood face frames, all that stuff that everybody wants. So it's a good option. We're actually going to use it for the first time in one of our projects coming up here next month.
Yeah. What type of woods is he working with?
Anything. He's got 3 or 4 different lines that are available to him. Some of them are long lead, just like the others. Yeah. But this one particular line, I don't know what it is. Lauren would know. It's super available and affordable. I mean, just for an example, we priced it, his cabinets versus what we traditionally use, and it was almost 40% less than what we had been using. So it was a real good way for our clients to kind of direct some funds towards countertops and flooring and keep their budget in line. Yeah. You know, because that's the big thing, right? Everybody that wants a kitchen has a number in their head about what it should cost, and extracting that from them as early in the process as we can is difficult, because I try not to come off like, hey, how much money do you have, right? How much can I make on this project? It's not that at all. Yeah. It's like ordering a custom car, or
someone coming to our Flagstaff market wants a certain house, and it's like
what's your budget?
Right, this is what you would like,
exactly,
and this is what you can afford, you, right? You
know? And we have an ideal client type and all that. I'm sure we'll touch on that at some point during this conversation, but it's helpful to have a budget and know and have options now again, you know, because for so long during COVID, we really didn't have any options. We could take what we could get when we could get it, and that was all we could do. Yeah. And now we're starting to see not only prices come down, but timelines are getting shorter. You know, big manufacturing facilities for windows and doors and things across the country have upped their production capacity, so they're pumping out more products on a more consistent basis. So, the dynamic of the industry has definitely changed post-COVID. Yeah. I feel like it's now getting to a point that's manageable. You know, anybody that's still here knows what they're doing and have endured all of these obstacles that have come up before us in the last 3 years, and have a really good way about going about business.
Well, and just like you're saying, is I feel like there's this element to where, and that's I believe in the human spirit that way, that people have kind of determined
it's resiliency. I mean, it's
and that resiliency to say, hey, cabinets are taking 6 months, not acceptable. Right. Let's figure that out. Let's open a cabinet shop and ensure that takes time to come together, and that pain point has to last for so long before people start to really innovate that way. But it seems like we're on that tail end where some of these things of saying, no, we're not going to wait that long or pay that much. Like, there's some innovations coming in place, and hopefully right in time, because I mean, if anyone's been listening to our real estate aspects of this conversation, is I think the renovation. You were telling me that you're digging much more into, instead of new build, more into the remodel.
We're focusing on it 100%.
And that's where I think that's the next name of the game.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see so much happen where people are going to say, hey, I want to be local, or I want to be in town. We have so many people that want to be in town, want to be acquiring at a certain price point, but then eventually want to get the home to the size, finishes, or whatever that they want. And remodeling is going to be huge.
Yeah, it is.
It's massive there.
I don't want to say that it's recession proof, but it's not as affected as drastically as new home construction is. I mean, we were building a lot of custom homes in Williams.
Yeah.
Well, they're implementing another moratorium on permits.
I heard of that.
Because not because of water, which is what it was last time, but it's because of the capacity or the lack thereof of the sanitary sewer system. And it's not the houses necessarily, but they did a couple big hotel projects.
Yeah.
And the system's just overloaded. So now they're looking for a solution to that before they'll issue any more building permits.
Yeah.
So when I heard that, which was recently, just a few months ago, I was really glad that we really didn't have anything on the line there. Because if that would have happened to me 3 years ago, my entire year of business would have just fallen out.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, exactly.
So
when you were saying it's at capacity, I was thinking we need to build the billboard out by Williams with that Christmas vacation. The shitter's full.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Right.
So, gosh.
Actually, that's a good idea. We should mention this. I know a couple guys on the city board there, so I might mention it to him as a joke. But.
Exactly. So, and that's where I think what's interesting to me. So I've gone through some of this different, and you guided me through some of these different phases of my own, where, and not everyone has the stupidity that I have. I haven't even told you the latest stories.
Credit.
No, I'll tell you more stories later. Yeah, my wife has drawn a line where I'm not allowed to do certain things anymore.
That's a healthy relationship. You're still married, so you got that going for you.
Correct. So for the vast majority of people that worry about their own sanity and want to get it done right, finding a general contractor like yourself and starting a project, I think a lot of them probably. Well, my guess is that first hurdle, just like you were saying, is they think, hey, I love this, and I've used your quote so much, by the way.
Which one?
Of which one? I'm sure you got a lot of them. But this one's the Pinterest is the porn app for women.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my God.
Because they're looking at all these unrealistic expectations and hopes out there all day long, and all these people that are just in design and just going hardcore on all these different latest trends and fashions and color schemes, and
it can be overwhelming.
Oh, it's nuts. It's nuts.
The amount of decisions you have to make on even a kitchen remodel surprises people.
Yeah. Oh.
Let alone a kitchen with a couple bathrooms or a whole home remodel, let alone new home construction.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of decisions that have to be made, and luckily now we've got Lauren working with us full time.
It's awesome.
Doing all the interior design, and she is just talented at that.
She's
awesome. Got a natural talent. We have a lot of clients that once they get to know her and see some of the color boards that she presents them with, say, if we need a selection, if something doesn't get selected early on, which we really push for, because we don't want anybody to pick anything in a rush.
Yeah.
We'll call and say, hey, somehow we didn't pick a stain for that front porch beam. What do you think? And they say, just whatever Lauren wants, we'll go with it. So That's awesome. Super helpful to have her there, because my answer to that question is, what color do you like? And that's the one I like too, right? I'll tell you how much it'll cost and how long it'll take, but don't ask me what do you think it's going to look like in the end.
My wife was kind of calling me a snob on it a little bit. We stayed at an Airbnb over the summer, and it had been newly remodeled and things, and I was like, this was designed and performed by a builder.
Yeah,
it's great. It's great, but certain fit and functions and how, if they're like, hey, we're going, they don't know where to break.
Right.
Where to break that.
You could tell it was built on with a cost of the project in mind.
Well, that and also just a lack of creativity,
Right.
and also I call it the 50 Shades of Grey rental, just because like, and gray's kind of out like
It
in a
is,
lot
for
of
sure.
ways, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like, man, and they had like gray laminate cabinets and gray laminate accents in the fireplace. And I was like, man, someone spent a lot of money. And so I think that's huge. That's a huge thing. Not that I'm trying to like market Aaron right now, but having an in-house like actual designer that's detached from like, this is how it fits and functions.
Right.
Huge.
She wants to know, I mean, what's your aesthetic? Is it modern? Is it craftsman? All these different types. I couldn't label them all.
Yeah.
It seems to be going really well. And all this, kind of revamping at Barden Home Builders has to do with my involvement in a 20 club through the National Association of Home Builders, which I've been in now for 4 years and just been great. Meetings twice a year. And I get to interact with 15 other guys just like me from all around the country and see what are they doing, what works, what doesn't work. So I'm really happy that, I've had the opportunity to be exposed to that and been around long enough to say, you know what, I want to do this better. You know what, scratch that. I want to do this the best. I want to be a remodeling specialist. That's what I honestly, that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
So this year, we're transitioning from all the work that we've been contracting over my entire career into the projects that we have designed, estimated, proposed, contracted through what we have in the office now, which is Lauren and then Taryn and Jessica.
Yep.
And it's working really well.
That's awesome.
The few that we've started so far are finishing 20% ahead of schedule, which on a 3-month kitchen remodel, when you're moving them in just over 2 months, they're excited.
That's amazing.
We feel like the process works.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about it.
So talk to me, and I think it's important for, as folks getting out there, I think anybody, I don't know, I get so excited about design and then the functionality of it. You're like, man, why did I do this so much earlier? Because it's life, right? It's the way you feel and work through a home, and from the little things. Just having done enough of this myself where it's like, and I try to explain. My wife does have an appreciation. I'm like, do you know how to, like, where that light switch hits, where you're plugging in your phone? Like, you don't think of that.
No, you don't. And it should have a purpose.
But you get bugged by it if it doesn't work.
Right. Yeah, right? When you live in that space, and that's something that we try to explain as much as possible. Is, if it seems like a minor detail now, it won't later. When the project's done, you have to call us. So we just finished a 9-month project last week, and they're having us come in and add a Ethernet cable because he wants his office to be in a different room.
Yeah.
No big deal, but it's not a big deal until it is, right?
Yeah.
And the more thought that you put into, we've really spent a lot of time in design now. Yeah. A lot more than we ever did.
Yeah.
We spend almost as much time designing the project as we do actually constructing it.
Yeah.
So,
and you get me going all day long, and on that, I get really, really excited about the design, the functionality, and all that stuff. But I think I'm going with the perspective. I think most people would like to, upgrade or change something in their homes, but let's talk about that kind of ideal client where someone's like, hey, budget wise, go grab a weekender, grab some buddies, some pizza, some beer, paint the bathroom, put a new toilet in it, and call it a day. Right. Versus like, where do you feel you add, or is kind of your ideal job and perspective?
So, I mean, there's always the client out there that will buy a house, won't move into it, will hire a contractor to do what they want because it's what they want.
Yeah.
Right. So we get a couple of those every year, but the majority of our clients are Flagstaff homeowners who purchased their house before 2017 or 18 and just need an upgrade. They have original finish, 30-plus-year-old or 20-even-year-old finishes, kitchen and bathrooms. And, I mean, that's really it. So they've got equity that they can use to help fund the project. Yep. And they can, the biggest thing too, or not the biggest thing, another big thing that we push is, we understand what you want. You want a new kitchen. Are you comfortable with what your payment is going to be or what's your out-of-pocket expense when this is all said and done? Because that's important too. Yeah. If we get all the way through this and you just get to a point where you're pinching pennies to make your payments or you spent all your kids' college fund, that's not what we want. No. Right? So, and with home prices here, as everybody knows, it's difficult for people to buy a house that needs to be fully updated, pay a premium for it, and then pay the expense to remodel it. Because I mean, it's expensive. It's a lot of people undervalue or underestimate the cost of home remodeling. And a lot of projects we'll get into, you can see where we're going in and fixing 2 previous remodels that were done hastily, right? We took one house apart and we found a bunch of old cabinetry in the walls that they had used for drywall patches for whatever reason. But what we do, we give our clients confidence. They come to our office. We sit them down in a professional setting, like your office. Nice office, by the way.
Thanks.
And we run through we do a big spec book, and we spend 2 hours with them. After we spent 2 to 3 months designing, we spend a couple hours with them one-on-one and say, here's all the things we're going to do. Here's the number of outlets in this room. Here's the number of switches and dimmers and cans and the type of flooring and the offset and the grout color and on and on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
So we really we explain to them the value and the service that we're going to provide.
Yeah.
And then when we get to the end and we say, this is how much it's going to cost, I think our closing ratio is about 85 or 90% of the jobs that get. So of all the phone calls we get a certain amount that sign a design agreement. And then of those people that sign a design agreement and go through the steps with us, most of them end up signing with us to do the project.
Is there, so for our listeners there, so when they sign a design contract where you're committing time and resources to help sharpen the pencil for them, is that like a flat cost, or is that a percentage cost, or how does that look?
It's usually a flat cost. So we'll go out and do an initial meeting for free.
Yeah.
So every Tuesday we go out to 2 or 3 new jobs. I go and Lauren goes.
Job Tuesday.
That's right. Yep. And I look at the house, like how old is the roof? How old is the exterior paint? How old are the windows? How about your furnace and your hot water heater? What's your electrical service?
Yeah.
Lauren, and I do that usually with the husband.
Yeah.
And then Lauren goes through and says, what do you want? Like, what's your taste?
Yeah.
What's your vision? Do you have a Pinterest board? Lauren loves Pinterest boards. And at the end of that meeting, we'll go back to the office and sit with Taryn, the general manager, and say, well, this is what we looked at. We have kind of an idea, like a bathroom, I think is $1,500. Kitchen, I think is $3,000. And that just covers, we do 3D renderings. We produce floor plans. It's hours and hours and hours and hours of our team that go into this. And at the end of that, we'll give you your specified job on paper in a 3-ring binder and our proposal. And if you want to have another builder bid it, we encourage that.
Sure.
We're not like, hey, take our price or get lost. We want you to be comfortable with the builder that you select.
Absolutely.
Because it's not just a 3-month relationship that you've got. I'm friends with almost all of my clients out of 400. And there's not a single person I've worked for ever that if I saw them in the grocery store, I wouldn't shake their hand and ask them how they're doing. Every single one, I would do that. A couple of them, I might kind of go back to my telemarketer roots and always be closing and be like, hey, no, I got to run. It's nice to see you. But... it's a big commitment. You're not just signing up for a builder. You're going to trust potentially your largest investment in the hands of somebody else, and you want to choose wisely when you do that.
Yeah, this isn't, and I think there's such a very interesting. I don't know. I get hung up on it all the time. Where I think culturally, we go through swings culturally, and it's like, oh, we can get everything faster, cheaper. Like there's this. There's, what was that, Alibaba, now there's this Temu, and
sure. Right.
Have you heard of that Temu much?
No, I haven't. I know what you're talking about.
It was explained to me kind of thing where it's basically like, I don't know, I'm probably going to slaughter this, but it's pretty much like China Direct, right?
Yeah.
And so like I saw one of their ads on social media, it was basically, that was like, as far as analyzing the ad and what they're trying to say is like, trust us, like this will not be crap. And so where I'm heading with it is that I think that I think we're now on that back end of that whole, hey, everything's cheaper online, whatever, is to saying, hey, there's a value to quality.
Right.
There's a value to service.
There's a saying I'll try to remember, that quality is remembered long after price is forgotten.
Yeah.
And I say that all the time.
Yeah.
When you're sitting in your house in 10 years and you haven't had any issues, and if you have, we're still here. We show up and fix it.
Yeah.
You know, then you're going to appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And yeah, that's the thing is I just think there's a lot of ways that people go into it. And I think that just asks some honest questions where it's like, hey, and I strongly encourage anyone doing a significant remodel or considering that, call your real estate agent, ask them, hey, is this the right fit for me? Should I be moving up into a different home?
Yeah.
Because you look at some of those costs and are we addressing it in the right areas? Because this is what Aaron says it's going to cost. Is that going to add the value to my home that I think it will? Because a lot of times if it's like, hey, you're changing, last year's hot tile to this year's hot tile, there's zero market value for that, but you'll spend $20,000 to redo the.
Well, and even that, I mean, you know me, I'm always checking numbers. Numbers are my thing.
Exactly.
I try and look at them as many different ways as possible. So, I'll look up the price that was paid for the homes. A lot of time I'll ask, how much did you buy the house for? And then I'll add in what the remodel is, and I'll divide that by the price per square foot. And more often than not, they are over the cost. What they will have invested in that home per square foot is more than what it's worth. So it has to be a time commitment too. Why are you doing this? Correct. Are you going to raise your kids here?
Yep.
You're going to live here for 15, 20, 30 years? Yep. Can you afford it? Then all of this makes sense.
Sure.
Right? If the answer to any of those questions are no, then, then maybe it's time to think about just making that a rental, selling it, and buying something different. Yeah. And I'm not afraid to have those conversations. I feel really comfortable in my job just because I've been doing it so long. Yeah. To say to people that, hey, I don't really think this is a good fit for you. In all honesty, you want my opinion? I wouldn't do it. Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. Sure. If I feel like that's what needs to be said, then I'll say that.
Well, and I just think a lot of perspective, right? And a perspective that you have doing this day in, day out. I love that factor where I think the national average is like there's 8 real estate transactions. Like a buy and sell in the average American's lifetime.
Per family?
Per person.
Per person?
Yeah. Huh. So like 8 or per family, like 8 transactions. And if it's like, you're going to touch this, and that's maybe as the average, some people touching it less, to where every time you do this, it's like, what is that, 5-10 years, from the refi to the purchase to the sell to the whatever. And it's like, no. We do these every day. Right. And you having your basis of you're doing remodels every day. You've been in this market for close to 2 decades here. And then if as people don't know, I won't go too much into personal, that Aaron is an active homeowner and investor and landlord and different. So because you have, I think that's valuable for people to know that you have firsthand experience in the value of real estate. Right. And so it's not just like, let's charge you up on this kitchen. It's a matter of like, let's see that big picture. Right. And holistically help people out. And I think that too many people devalue that, but it can mean all the difference in some situations. Yeah. I mean,
I don't want to leave somebody with something that they don't enjoy living in, that they can't afford, or that just puts them in a difficult position. I mean, why would anybody want that for anyone? There's plenty of people out there that fit the mold, right? Yeah. I'm not pushing projects down people's throat. You can come to us. We'll give you the product that you want in the time that we say that we'll give it to you. And if you want that, great. And if you don't, great. Yeah. It's up to you.
Exactly.
So we still get calls from the weekend warriors and stuff, and it's okay. I mean, more power to everybody. If you're handy enough and you want to create some sweat equity, God knows that I've done that enough. Sure. Go ahead. Yeah. We're probably not a good fit because I like to control everything. Yeah. Because inevitably, if you say your cousin's a drywaller or something, and there's gonna be a delay, and when we get to the end, you're gonna say, "Why did it take 2 weeks longer?" And I'm gonna say, "Well, it's your fault." They won't ever see it that way, but yeah.
Well, and I think, if you're going to put your name on it, it's hard to put your name on it if you don't have full control of process there.
Yeah. And a lot of people want to do the easy stuff, which is, the finish at the end. It's easy to recreate, or it's not. It's the difficult part is recreating the space, right? Changing the structure. Yeah. Then by the time you're putting paint, cabinets, flooring, I mean, it seems like that's the easy part to do, but that's the part that matters the most because that's what everybody sees. Yeah. So that's kind of the default. Everybody wants to paint, right? I can do drywall.
Yeah.
I'll set my cabinets. I'll put the hardware on my cabinets or whatever. And
Yeah.
if they push hard enough and they can show me that they can do it well, and if it's a budget constraint and I like them well enough, I'll say, go ahead. But that is what people see, and
correct. Yeah.
It's if when I walk into a house like you walked into that Airbnb, you could tell a professional did it. It was, the feng shui was off because it was done by a man, but you can tell, like we want all of our clients when they have their friends over, walk into the house and go, wow, this looks great. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. Well, and I think as far as if those things line up, and maybe that's the start of it, is people are running into, why am I really doing this? Mm-hmm. And then the matter of like, I'm all about, even though it gets me in trouble sometimes, like to buy once, cry once. Right.
Yeah.
No doubt. And then realizing the value of your time. Right. And that's different for everybody. Right. Mm-hmm. There was things that I would even like 2-3 years ago, things that I would dive into project wise that now I'm thinking like, I kind of like my kids too much and would like to see them, like it's
my
just
bed is just so comfortable. I really don't like sleeping on the couch.
And or just different things where it's like, hey, like I rebuilt a 1979 motorcycle and modified it to what's called a cafe racer build. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. No. I look back at that, I'm like, where did I have that time? Right? It was before one of the kids was born or something. And so that's I think important for people to understand as well too, of like, man, when you have a crew that's on a project day in, day out versus like you're gonna paint this room over 4 weekends.
Right. Well, and there's a time and a place for it. It's
exactly.
It is a big time commitment to work your full-time job. Yeah. And do my full-time job in your spare time. Yeah. Right? Yeah. The way I look at it in my life, if I need my truck fixed or, there's something that I need done, landscaping, I don't do those things. Could I? Sure. Yeah. I'd rather do my job and make my salary and pay somebody else to do theirs. Yeah. So
that does it day in, day out and knows exactly how not to mess that up.
Right. Yeah.
So let's kind of talk then through what you kind of encounter. Are most of the folks that are reaching out to you, are they kind of like, we want to scorch the earth, like tear this thing out and start new? Or do you guys is that your ideal of like, hey, we want to do like brand new kitchens, brand new bathrooms? Or do you do kind of this middle ground sometimes where it's, hey, we're going to, keep the cabinets, just paint them, and we're going to redo some flooring and throw in, some new backsplash, or what's?
It depends on a lot of things. What our current workload is, what their budget is, what their timeline is, what time of year it is. So I kind of like to keep that, I like to stay flexible with all those things. I won't say no to a project until I know exactly what it is and what it isn't. Yeah. So we're seeing a mix of everything right now. We just looked at one yesterday where they want to redo the whole house and keep the kitchen cabinets. I hope that Lauren can talk them out of it because they're super duper old. But if they want to and they're going to be happy with it, it's their house. Yeah. Go ahead. Ideally, we just like to take it down to the studs. Yeah. Check the infrastructure, the wiring and the plumbing to make sure it's all good. Sure. And then put it back together from there. So ideally, that's what we would do with new cabinets, countertops, plumbing, fixtures and everything. But it's hard to paint that picture for a lot of people because let's just say you had a budget of $50,000. There's $50,000 sitting on this table right now. Yeah. You and I would both reach for it. It's a lot of money. Like I still understand the value of cash. Yeah. Right? Of having this much money and you worked hard and you saved. Yeah. So I don't like to go in and tell people, I'm sorry, but you can't remodel your kitchen for that much money. Yeah. But you have it. You're ready to spend it. Let's figure out how you can get the biggest bang for that dollar, right? What are you going to get for that? What are your priorities? Which rooms do you want to touch? Yeah. Do you entertain? Do you like having your kids sit at the kitchen counter for dinner? I mean, there's so many different ways that you can make a positive impact on somebody's house. Yeah. For that kind of money, which, I mean, in this day and age, it's really not a lot, But we still do what we still try and help them get as much as they can for us because I don't want to be that guy who's I don't want to do your job because it's not big enough.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I haven't lost sight of the people out there that are just looking for someone to help them out. Because right now, with everybody being so busy, people get a lot of no's. I mean, you'd probably be surprised how many times, and I don't answer the phones anymore, but Taryn, who does and calls people back within a day, says, "Oh my God, I can't believe you called us back." You know, even if we're not going to do the job, we'll call you and say, we're not going to do this.
Yeah, but that environment has existed for several years here in Flagstaff right now.
Right, yeah. 2020 hit, and February was kind of, average. COVID came, and it flattened out for like 2 weeks, and it just has skyrocketed ever since then.
Yeah.
Busier, more expensive, longer lead times, harder to get a hold of people. I mean, all those things have taken place. So, honestly, I'm sure people are going to swear at me out there in the audience, but I'm glad interest rates are going up. It's kind of slowing things down.
Well, yeah, we needed normal pace, right? And so way too fast and slower now to where, we need some normalcy for sure.
And I should expand on that. I don't like that people have to pay higher interest rates for money to have the American dream.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people out there that have been so used to just being given jobs, subcontractors, I guess, really.
Yeah.
Just charging whatever they want and getting a job because they're the only option. Like, I feel like there needs to be a check for that. Like, hey, guys, we're still working in the public sector here. Like, customer service is still a thing. Should be. Yeah. So let's all remember why we're doing this and just rethink the fact that, maybe I won't put that extra $10,000 on that bid because I don't have the people to man it up. And if I get it, well, I'll just figure it out. I can't stand that.
Yeah.
So, and one of the biggest issue, if not the biggest issue facing the home remodeling and building industry is workforce. There just aren't kids coming out of high school that want to learn a trade. The average age of a construction worker is like 45.
Really?
Right? Should be 25. Working construction is hard work.
Well, and so many things have. I mean, this is it's a little left field. We'll try not to go too far into it, but it's tricky when we start talking about, like, when I grew up back in the day, it was like, hey, if you wanted to go, flip burgers or sit in a call center or something,
it's a good first job.
A good first job or something, but that minimum wage was going to be half of what you could if you were like swinging a hammer.
Right.
If you wanted to go work, spend your summers on roofs or be in, a semi-hazardous environment.
Yeah, sure.
And so with like Flagstaff minimum wage things, has that created a difficulty for you?
Without a doubt. I mean, I've got to start people at $18 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could build an entire house running a framing crew when I was 20 years old, and I was making, I think, $12.50. I had all my own tools and the knowledge to put this thing from a slab to a roof. And these people come in and they're asking if there's a operation manual for a broom. And I'm like, and the problem is they're just going to get stuck there. That's my concern, is that they're going to be just, what, $18 an hour is good enough. I can do this until I'm 30 or 40, and then I'll figure it out.
Sure.
It just kind of takes away the desire to improve yourself, right? Improve your station and be better at what you do.
Definitely. Yeah. So construction, and that's where I think a lot of, it's this huge concern that people aren't addressing. And there's no, I think hopefully the adults are in the room enough to know there's no magic wand on a lot of the issues that we face. And the housing, like when we just go simple math of the number of houses that are being built to the number of households coming to market are still not at an equilibrium. And so, the stress on trades is just, I don't know. I don't see it letting up. Do you see like this, like all of a sudden this major break point where it's like, now there's more contractors running out there than jobs for them?
I don't. And it just, these younger kids that are coming up and filling these trade spots just don't have a lot of pride in what they do. And that's one of the bigger things that kind of gets to me is, you paying $120 an hour for a tradesman licensed, and you get this kid to show up who's late and takes an hour and a half for lunch, and you look at the work he did in a day, and you're like, man, I guess we'll take it, you know? So it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult to manage.
Which, there's, I don't know if I was following this home inspector on social media down in the, he's like down in the Valley area. Mm-hmm. And this guy is just pointing out all this shoddy work. Yeah. That's getting done on these brand new home builds, right? Right. And so it's like, hey, if enough kids you can pump into the house, and like no one's as long as no one looks up in the rafters. Right. You're okay.
Like, oh, what are all the inner parts of this truss for? We'll just cut them out of the way for the furnace.
Is insulation supposed to exist in a roof?
No.
So so quality, again, kind of stressing that quality, I think, you know, is a huge thing that obviously working with someone like yourself. Yeah. That they're and you guys do warranty jobs. How do those work?
It's 2 years, but I mean, I've gone back on things 7, 8 years after the fact. 2 years isn't good enough for me. I want to build something that will last for 100 years. Is what I've always said.
I like it.
If you have an issue and it was something that we didn't do right, you know, I'm gonna fix it. Yeah. If you tried to go in and fix something yourself and made a bigger mess out of it, I'll probably still fix it for you. I might charge you like a minimum, for time. But I mean, 2 years is what we were required to do. But I just take enough pride in what we do in the finished product that if someone calls me 3 years after the fact, I'm not looking at when they moved in. Yeah. I don't care when they moved in. I remember the relationship that I had with that person before the build, during the build. Yeah. And I just go take care of it. It's good to catch up most of the time. Yeah. So, I mean, to anybody out there that's looking to do a remodeling project, a few things to expect, you know, call around, look at Google ratings. That's a big thing. Yep. See that they've got good recent Google reviews. Check out their website. If it looks professionally done, then they're, you know, crossing their T's and dotting their I's. Have a few people come out, meet with them, see how you feel when you talk to that person. Yeah. Are you comfortable? Do you feel like you can have a difficult conversation with that person? Because you will have one throughout the course of a remodel.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. And, you know, envision yourself in a difficult situation where you're going to have to come up with more money that you weren't planning on coming up with, because as much as we try to limit it, it happens. Usually about 2.5% of the overall construction project value is what we tend to go over in change orders that are unsolicited change orders, right? Yes. Found something latent. So if somebody says, you know, they sit there in your kitchen and tell you that it's going to be this much money, like right on the spot, if they give you a range, I do that a lot because I feel like it's a helpful tool for people to consider. But if they tell you right then and there, like it'll be $70,000, here's an estimate that I just wrote, you know, you might think twice about that one. You know, I like to work with people that have been in business for a really long time and seem to carry themselves in a professional manner. So it's going to take time. Give more time to the design than you think it's going to take. Sure. A kitchen, even a bathroom, can take 3 months. And it's not because it takes 3 months every day.
Just to design.
It's because the people that are involved in that design process are working dozens of other jobs at the same time. Yeah. So they're going to fit yours in, but, you know, 3 months is a decent amount of time to give to a design period. Construction's usually about as long on that. And, you know, just make sure you pick something that you're comfortable with, that you get a good feeling about.
So with those timelines, if someone's thinking, hey, we'd like to throw this big spring barbecue with the new place, like they better call you yesterday.
Well, if it's for spring of 2024, I'm sorry to say that you won't be able to have it, at least not by us. Because we've got, you know, we're contracted through the end of the year, and we hold places in our construction schedule for design clients. Okay. Once they sign, they really are a client of ours. This money has changed hands, so we are obligated to perform for them. And until they say no, we don't take them off of the future schedule, we call it. But yeah, if you want something, 6 months, you're cutting it close. If you're hosting a wedding at your house next July, then you should call us right now.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, good. Well, awesome, Aaron. Well, this is already so many details, and we take enough of your time. But any other hot takes on remodel or any other last words?
No. I'm just excited for the sun season right now.
I love it.
Not putting any equity into the Cardinals because that's just a dumpster fire. But
Yeah.
I can't wait for the NBA season. I feel like I got a lot of good stuff out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good. I appreciate you having me out.
Absolutely. Awesome, man. Well, guys, give Aaron a call.
Thank you.
Thanks.